Okay, so welcome to everyone once again to our LCCOP session. You are all welcome and thank you so much for being here today. I'm your host, Akosia, but for simple pronunciation, you can call me Adom, and I'll be your host for today on behalf of Agile People's Ops team. This is our monthly LCCOP session, which happens on every third Wednesday of each month. And always remember to join us for these sessions. And also, if this is your first time here, welcome to the community. And if you have joined us previously or before, welcome back. These sessions, as I said previously, happen every Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. EST time zone. And they are all about growing our leadership and coaching skills in real ways and practical ways. So, for today, we are exploring something simple but incredibly powerful, that is the art of listening, a leadership superpower. As leaders, I believe we often focus on speaking clearly and giving instructions and making decisions, but listening, that is truly listening to people, is where trust begins, where understanding grows, and where great leadership actually takes roots. So I'm excited out to have. We are lucky enough to be joined by our wonderful facilitator, that is Deepa Mahesh. Deepa is a seasoned leadership coach with a real gift for helping people tune into what matters most. And I can testify to that. She specializes in adaptive leadership management and, of course, deep intentional listening. Her work has helped leaders across the world build more trust, empathy, and clarity in the way they live. So please join me in giving our wonderful Deepa a warm welcome. Drop in the emoji box a love heart emoji, a welcome emoji, a waving. Let's put it in the chat box and let's give a welcome and our deep love. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. And a couple of quick things I would like you to know. This session is being recorded and we'll send out all the replay afterward. You are welcome, and we'll leave time for you to get your answers to the question. And at the end, there'll also be a quick feedback poll. We'll love to hear your thoughts. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more information. Over to you, Deepa.
Thank you. So yeah, today's topic is very interesting and very close to my heart, because listening is at the cornerstone of great leadership, is what I believe. Let me just get my slides up. Yeah. I call it a superpower. Uh, and and I call it a superpower because I think that so much of data can come from deep listening, and it is so magical that it can be a major differentiator in your leadership. So how many of you feel listening is really important? How many of you feel, those attending this session today?
Can you kindly repeat the question?
How many of you feel that listening or deep listening, active listening is important? It can be a leader superpower.
It is very important, especially if you want to be involved in everything going on, and it give you insights on what's going on and how you can fix
Yes,
it or whatever stuff like that.
yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So, today we will explore what are the different uh, ways or levels of listening and what is its impact. Why is listening important for HR professionals? And what are the some simple tools that you can bring in your daily conversations? It's not too many things, not too many jargons, but very simple things that you can practice to implement it in your daily conversations. This is what we're going to explore today. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. You know, think of a time when you truly felt that you were heard. What made it so powerful? When did you feel really heard or listened to? What made that listening powerful? What was happening? Like when I still remember the time when I felt really listened to was when in my organization, my um, I was struggling with a certain task, and my manager and I was at my desk. My manager did not know, my leader did not know that I was struggling. He observed me. He was seeing what I was doing, and he asked me, he tapped me from the back. I turned and I looked at him, and he asked me, what help do you need? The moment he asked me this, I broke down. I was actually so overwhelmed, firstly, with the struggle that I was experiencing. And second is that my manager could see I was struggling, and he asked me what help. And I told him the help I needed. He sat down and he told me a very simple way to navigate it. A very simple way. He took a paper, he wrote down something on the paper, and he told me a simple way. My entire confusion was gone because I didn't know it was so simple, but for me, it was a struggle. That was the most powerful experience of listening. Do you have such stories of being listened to? You can unmute and share.
I was sharing an issue at work, and the way they heard it, and it felt powerful because I could change something.
Mm, nice. Anybody else?
Please, does it count if you are working, let's say for yourself, but you are working for, like an example is a VA job? Can you feel heard by the person sorry, the person you are working for? That is the person you are being a VA for,
The
because
person
that
you
is
are?
my experience. The person you are working as a VA for,
Yes,
that
yes.
is my point, like my experience. I work as a VA, and the clients I currently work with, she really understands me, especially when she sees that I'm working too much. She can just tell me to maybe relax, take the weekend off, and just, like, she sometimes it feels like she knows what I'm thinking even before I think about it. So when I say it,
Yes.
she makes me feel heard. And also, apart
Yes.
from that, she makes me feel free to be myself, even though it's
Yes. Yes.
a boss and client relationship. So that is my
Yes.
experience.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's how it works. Yeah, they listen beyond what you have spoken. Because deep listening is about deep sensing. You can sense the unsaid, unspoken. It looks like magic, but it's actually a skill which needs to be practiced again and again and again. Anybody else? In today's session, I'm not going to give a big lecture because I'm going to make you reflect. Because when you see what made that listening powerful, you will be able to pick those tools. You exactly need to do what somebody did to you. Okay. I'll move on and I'll just share a few thoughts. Now, listening, a lot of people say it's a soft skill, but I believe listening is a leadership behavior. It is demonstrated, it can be seen and felt. It's not just a soft skill. Listening is not being silent, but it is about sensing strategically. The example that I gave, my manager, what was he doing? He was sensing strategically. He was communicating to me that I hear you. I can see even if you don't tell me. So, with the result, what happened in the future, I never had to hide. I could just walk into his cabin and say, I'm struggling with this, and we could come with a solution. So, it was a strategic way of telling me that I hear you. So, it's about sensing strategically, it's not about being silent. It is not about being passive. It shapes cultures. What was my manager telling? That it's important for me to listen. He was shaping the HR culture. If he does that to me, he will do it to my team member, he will do it to my peer, will do it to his colleague. He is instrumental in shaping culture. He's role modeling. It's not a passive act. Yeah. And he's not listening, is not just hearing something, it is about influencing an outcome. When my manager did what he did, he was influencing an outcome that I would produce, but in a most effortless manner, because he was removing the hindrance that I would have produced. He was removing that hindrance, that struggle he was removing. Deep listening can actually influence positive outcomes with ease. Yeah, because the most basic need for a human being is to feel understood. If you are listened to and understood, and we are talking about leadership, this starts at when we are born as a child. The child looks to their caregiver, and that caregiver listens to the child's expression, and knows, the mother knows, the father knows what's needed. They can't communicate, but they can sense. So every single human being who has become a leader has this ability. It is ingrained in them. It's just that we don't consciously at times use it. And it has the power to influence outcomes. Yeah. Because listening is action. It is about being present. In this moment, are you listening? In this moment, are you listening to me? Are you listening to yourself? Are you listening to the environment around? Are you listening in the present moment? Are you perceiving it? That is your power. Believe you me, listening is power because you listen to things which you may not be told, but you can sense and act and influence. Any thoughts on what I'm sharing? Any thoughts on you having implemented this?
So, Deepa,
Yeah,
I have a question. So,
yeah,
to okay, so my question is this:
yeah.
does listening come in two different forms? Because as you were talking, I was reflecting on a topic we recently worked on. That is, I recently worked on for a presentation, and that was the topic, active listening. And so I was asking
Active.
myself, yeah, does it mean that to listen comes in different form? The unspoken listening. and there is the active listening, being present when example is currently, are you listening? Not just listening, but are you actively listening? Because active listening at the end of the day produces results. It gives you understanding. It broadens your mindset. It makes you think about maybe even stuff you have done. What can I do better? So I'm just asking. So is there a difference then? Or let's say, does listening come in two different forms? Hello? Hello, Deepa. Okay. Hello? Okay. It seems we may have lost Deepa. But hello?
Sorry,
No problem, Deepa. It seems there may be a slight connection. Okay. I think we lost Deepa, but I think we can still discuss among ourselves whilst we wait for Deepa on this one. Please, you can
I
contribute.
don't,
You can
I
unmute or
lost you
contribute.
because I lost connection. Sorry, you were saying that does listening come in different forms?
Yes, does it come in different forms? Especially as I said, the topic that I worked on, it was active listening. So I was just asking myself, is there in a way active listening that is being present like this? And is there something like an unspoken listening, like how your boss was able to perceive to be able to ask you what he can do to help you? So that is my question.
Yeah, yeah. So there are different levels of listening. There is listening to the seen, there is listening to the heard, and there is listening to the unseen and unheard. Yeah, and listening comes at different levels. Now, to be able to listen to the seen and the heard is easy because you can use your sense organs, you can use your eyes, you can use your ears. But what you can't see and what you can't hear, you need to use your inner perception. You need to go beyond your sense organs. And for that, what you need is focus. You need to be interested in listening and you need to be interested in the opposite person. You need to have an interest in that opposite person, not just in the topic that they are speaking. When that happens, for example, my manager was able to hear the unseen and the unheard because he was interested in me as a professional because I report to him, and he's interested in me successful in my year, in my delivery. Because he's interested in that, it is easy for him to be able to listen to the unheard and unseen. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It makes sense. I guess what I am hearing from what you are saying is to be able to listen to someone, even though you don't hear or you don't see them,
Yeah,
comes directly
yeah,
with you having interest in them. And so, as a
yes,
professional, as an HR, you should be able to cultivate that
yeah.
ability to have interest in your, I would say employees,
Team
but
member.
in your employees, to
Yes,
be able to hear them
yes.
beyond what you are seeing
Same.
or what you are hearing.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank you for that,
exactly,
Deepa.
exactly. And Adam, what you did right now is also listening. You paraphrased in your own words. Yeah? Didn't you do that? Because you said what I hear you say is. So you are checking your understanding and you're paraphrasing. This is a deep
Mm-hmm.
listening technique.
Okay. Okay, so Deepa, with that, I guess my next question would be, how do you, because there are some people, I guess, as an HRS, you realize, especially with nowadays, balancing between not it's being seen as if you are maybe going into someone's personal issues. I guess maybe I'm not constructing it well, because to be
Okay.
able to listen without hearing or seeing what your employee is saying, sometimes the issue they are facing may be personal per se, but they've brought it to work, which is indirectly
Yeah.
affecting the person's
Yeah.
productivity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, as an HR aspect, how are you able, I don't know if there's a way to be able to go about it without it seeming as if you are, maybe
Intruding.
I'm trying to get a, yes, intruding, thank you for the word, intruding into their personal issue, but at the same time it is affecting their productivity.
Yeah,
But at the
yeah,
same time,
correct.
just like your boss did, you also
Yeah,
want to be a boss that not seen but is listening to your employee and enabling them to
yeah,
be productive, because that is also
yeah.
leadership. Okay, so please.
Yes, 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 that's true. That's true. So, most of the times, this does happen that personal problems come into productivity hindrances. And what the leader, what the HR person or the HR leader can do is to sense it. But you don't have the data, so you can't paraphrase it or you can't say. All you can say is, I'm sensing that something is bothering you. If you feel appropriate, you can share and see if we can come with a solution. You can offer listening. But if the if you are a deep listener, you will invoke trust in the opposite person. But if you are a shallow listener, the opposite person can sense and they are not going to share. It will look like intrusion. In my 18 years of experience as an HR professional, uh, my what is needed for listening is empathy. Empathy is the core skill that's needed for listening. I need to have my heart open in order to be able to listen at a deeper level. The moment I have my heart open and the moment I listen beyond what is said and unsaid, and I tell them that I'm open, if they trust me, then they'll share everything. Until the trust is built, it will feel like intrusion. Once the trust is built, then the boundaries are blurred and they'll share a lot. But it's a constant thing for HR to up the trust. What I see in today's times is in HR, the HR managers are so busy in running processes and managing systems that the one on one conversation time is compromised. And that erodes trust, and deep listening is impaired. And I mean, you can correct me if my reading is wrong, but it's important to be on the ground, to be available to your employees and say, yes, I am there, I care for you, and I listen, and I can listen deeply.
Okay, I get you. So I guess from what I am getting from you, it means to listen or to be able to be the type of employer that you listen to your employee without it feeling intrusion. Listening is not forced. It is like,
No.
I guess an example that comes in mind is like a baby that doesn't want to eat, or you've met a
Yeah.
new baby.
Yeah.
The baby
Yeah.
isn't going to trust you immediately.
Yeah.
Some do, but
No.
majority don't. But
Yeah.
when you constantly find a way to maybe coerce the baby, do something in
Yes.
and out, that
Yes.
is when at the end of the day the
Yes.
baby trusts you enough to want you to pick it, want you to feed it, and all in between. So it means that to be to listen is not to be forced, is rather to
First.
be
Yeah.
built. It's a
Yes.
relationship that is built.
Yes. It's
Okay,
a
thank you.
relationship. Yes. And also, Bilal, yes. It is basically about showing the person you care. Because why will you listen to them at deep different levels? It takes energy to listen. Why will you listen if you don't care? You'll just walk on. You'll move on. Why will you care? You listen deeply generally to your either your team members or your family members or your children, because you care for them more than others. So, uh, yeah, care and empathy are very important. So, one of the concepts, that Amy talked about, in her book, the Fearless Organization, where Amy Edmondson had talked about the 4 stages of psychological safety. And there it is said that teams thrive when people feel safe to speak up, ask for help, or admit mistakes. Yeah. And she talks about the 4 levels of psychological safety. Who enables this? What enables this? The culture enables this. This is part of the culture. Psychological safety is a culture. Who is responsible for the culture? I can't say HR. Each and every leader is responsible. Yes, HR has to upkeep the culture, has to ensure that the culture is there. But it is each and every leader who walks this and who becomes available to their team members. HR, along with the team leaders, are supposed to be able to listen, and listening plays a very, very important role. If there is a culture of listening, they will feel safe to speak up because they are not going to be punished for speaking up. They will ask for help because when they ask for help, they will not be treated as a weak link, but they will be treated as an employee who is asking for help because they want to go to the next level of performance. They will be okay to admit mistakes because mistakes wouldn't be treated as failure. They wouldn't have fear of failure. So, listening plays a very, very important role in managing and maintaining a culture of psychological safety. Yeah. And the next one, listening can bring retention. HR. We all have retention targets. As HR, they have retention targets. Leaders have retention targets. People don't leave jobs. They leave because how much ever they speak, they're not going to be heard. They're not going to be valued. They're not going to be seen. They are just one among others. So if as HR you realize that any employee is going through career confusion, any employee is going through personal stress, any employee is going through a burnout, and if you're able to see that and listen, one conversation, one meaningful conversation or exchange with them, okay, just let me tell you, in my tenure, I had this example where I was observing that one of the employee was coming late every single day, and when the employee walks in, the employee would have dark circles around their eyes, would always look down, while walking. And I could clearly see that something was not okay. And the manager had reported that, every day late, it's not okay, etc. So the manager did it at their level. I had a conversation. I just went to the desk of this professional and I asked him, saying that, I see that you're coming late and I see that there are dark circles around your eyes. Are you going through something? You will not believe it. I mean, I have never spoke to that employee before, but the employee broke down. The employee was going through, I didn't say anything. I just kept my hand on the employee's back. Yeah, just that much. Later on, the employee told me what they're going through. And then we found a solution for it. And everything changed. So, from helplessness, he could shift to being listened to. Yeah. And that is the power. Listening is power. That is the power that listening can bring in. I'm very sure that the people here on this call, we are 8 of us. And you would have some stories like that where somebody has listened to you. And it has become a very powerful moment for you. And that could have been a transformational moment. Can you enable that transformation or that powerful moment for your people around? Could be team members, could be peers, could be family, could be anyone. And listening can be practiced anywhere. It doesn't need to be at workplace alone. I know we are in the context of HR and all of that, but it's a skill to be mastered and practiced every single day. Yeah. So the question is, when you listen, What does this signal? Are you signaling judgment? Are you signaling control? Or are you signaling care? Because deep listening is not about judgment or control, it's about care. Any thoughts? Any thoughts, any questions, any anecdotes, any experiences?
I get
What do you
sorry,
think
Deepa.
your listening
Yes.
signals? Yes.
I would like to maybe share my experience of the other way around, whereby I felt judged from the listening of my employer, and it made me feel. I started questioning myself. I started asking, why do I even need to be productive? Because this is not an issue that should have been brought up. The way the employer took it made me feel everything I'm doing is not worth it, because I felt belittled about the situation. I felt like, why should you even point it out, to the extent that even if you told me personally, you went ahead to put it also in the company team. And it felt like, even though you may not have mentioned my name, but it's just directly pointed to me, and I felt so bad. In fact, I just, at that instant, I was thinking, why am I even still with them? What's the purpose of even still being with them? And so when you were speaking, that was what came in mind. And also, I just felt like, okay, does it mean, it means that, sorry, it means that listening can sometimes also go in the negative way if, as an employer, you are not careful of, like, how you respond to whatever your employee is saying or indirectly saying to you. You may indirectly actually maybe get the opposite result by how you communicate to the employee. So that was something that just came in mind. I guess I wanted to share, and also maybe ask, am I correct to think that it may come in two different forms if you are not careful as an employer when
Yes.
communicating about, like, when listening and communicating to the employee.
Communication is the most important thing. When you're listening, also you're communicating. What did when I kept my hand on his on the employee's bag? I'm communicating that all's fine. I'm listening. You don't need to share anything. I get it. So communication is not just speaking. It's as much listening. We are not taught in schools and colleges to that communication is listening. We are taught communication as speaking. Effective communication is effectively speaking and reaching an idea. But effective communication is also deeply listening. Thank you for bringing in this aspect of communication.
Okay, please. Bilal also just wrote,
Okay.
that's great, but sometimes you need to show control for those who are rude rather than care. Uh, Please, could you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Quite
Can you elaborate
understand.
on this,
Yes, that's what I wanted to.
Bilal? Yeah. Bilal, you can unmute and share.
Hello, Bilal. Please, could you just unmute and share? I think when you give us an in-depth or understanding of what you're saying, it can give us clarification and also give
Yeah.
us more insights. So please
Yeah.
kindly unmute.
Okay. Bilal is in a noisy place. See, the choice of how do you want to listen will depend on your scenario. Yeah. But Effective listening is when you listen with empathy and you listen to the depths. You listen beyond what is said. That's all what I wanted to communicate. So let me just go to what are the different ways to listen. I'll just talk about that. Yeah. These are the types of listening. Okay, the first listening is internal listening. You listen, but you're only listening to yourself. Somebody's speaking and then you're preparing, okay, what to say next. How do I tell my story? Or how do I already have a story in my mind. How do I juggle that? Yeah. And when this is not listening at all, this is listening to give back or listening to reply. A lot of times we do this. The next one is focused listening. I'm listening to understand. I paraphrase like Adam is doing. I listening and then I contribute to it. You know, I say that, oh, so what I understand with what you're saying is, and then I contribute in my own words. So I'm listening to understand. In this case, you are listening, but you're still listening with your senses. You're listening with the ears, your eyes. You're listening to the gestures, the body language, and all of that. The third level is beyond your senses. It's called generative listening. And you're listening for emergence. You're listening to what is not there in the space, but from a new place you're listening. This is the highest level of listening. Something new is created. Even the one you're listening to, they don't know this is what they were thinking. Now, as HR people, at any part, be it in the interview process, be it when they are inducted, be it when they are nominated for training programs, or at any point of time in the business HR function, or be it in the exit interview. If you listen at the level of generative, you will be respected as an HR professional much, much more. You will be able to do your job much better. Forget how the opposite person is. If you have to do your job and you do it, if you have to do a great, thorough job as an HR professional and you practice generative listening, you will be creating far more used cases than the first two. But focused listening is good enough too. But internal listening, listening to reply, is not listening. You have a notion that you're listening, but you're not actually listening. Any thoughts on how do you listen on a daily basis? At which level do you spend most of your time?
If for me, I would say I mostly, it depends. I think
Yeah,
for me, it depends. There are
yeah,
instances that is internal listening. I listen to reply, especially if I'm being combative with the person, or if I just want to I, speak my mind to the person. I'm not listening to reply. I'm listening basically just to reply to you,
reply.
and I'm done and it's finished. But for the focus listening, I mostly do that when it comes to say instructions being given to me in work, or mostly it has to do with work, because I want to understand from your perspective what you need from me. And so I mostly use that, I realize, in work setting. But for the generative, I realize that I mostly do that when it comes to personal stuffs, when I'm listening to family or friends, or someone saying something to me, or it mostly has to do with family and friends. That's why I realize I usually do generative listening. So that is
Okay.
from me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Bilal says second, which is focused
Focused.
listening. Yeah.
Mm.
Please,
Yeah.
everyone can also contribute. Please let us know.
Yes, please.
I
Yeah.
used to be an internal listening.
Okay.
But I'm changing now to be focused listening to understand what what's been sharing with me.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Amazing. And to identify this is great because then you know that you're moving to the next level. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah. So if you have to convert listening as a superpower, uh, moving out of internal listening is a mandate. It's a must. Because in internal listening, you have it's an illusion of listening, but you're only listening to combat, to fight. It's not listening. You don't even care about the opposite person. You only care about your own self. So when you feel not listened to, the opposite person is actually internally listening. You will also be able to understand how the opposite person is listening to you. All conversation stops. You shut because you know you're not being listened to. And you don't want to do that with your team members or somebody else. And hence internal listening is a no. It's not a go-to place at all. Focused listening, yes. Transformational doesn't happen, but at least it's great because you are willing to understand and not just put in your assumptions into it. And generational listening is the next level. And it is a hierarchy. So it takes time. And that's why it's a really an art. You have to practice it to keep moving to the next level. Yeah. And yeah. Now, in HR, what I have just tried to look at in HR, what are the common, listening pitfalls? So, just a few of them. The first one is jumping to fix it. Let me solve this quickly. I'm listening to somebody's pain point, okay, and I'm rushing to offer a solution without fully understanding the depth of it. Now, what happens is if you jump to give a solution, the opposite person may not have come to you for a solution, but you have not allowed them to speak at all. And as HR, it's very, very important for us to be able to listen to the depth. So, jumping to fix, if it's happening at your end, just be aware. The second is listening to respond or control. This is the first level. Completely no. This has no place in listening. Yeah. Now, because when they are speaking, you're formulating a response and then you are talking about it. The third is projecting assumptions. Now, you've already assumed. So the opposite person has come and say, I'm going through, a lot of issues at home, this, that. You've assumed, oh, the person is saying that because they are not going to perform well this year. They want you to give them a consideration for a rating. No, that may be your assumption. They may not have come to you for that at all. They're sharing something without listening to the whole thing. You have jumped to conclusions because of your own assumptions. That's another pitfall. Leaders do that. Yeah, and you have assumed, and then you have jumped on that assumption and told them also. And that hurts the employee. That's the third one. And the fourth is being too professional to be present to what the opposite person is saying. The opposite person, they are at your office and they're talking about something they're going through. And you as a HR manager or some leader says, okay, I understand all of that, but let's come to the point. Or I've seen that some they have been dealing with an emergency at work, and after that emergency they've come back, and the manager says that deadlines have to be met. There is no conversation about how are you, how are you managing your life, you're going through something like that. No, being too professional. Okay, come, let's get this cracking. This is non-listening. You're only listening to your need of achieving the deadlines. So these are some of the listening pitfalls. Have you experienced this in your career, either by yourself or your manager? Have you experienced it?
Yes, listening to respond or control.
Hmm.
I experienced it as an administrative assistant. I was sharing something with the CEO, and he just didn't listen to what I'm saying and kind of defended the previous rules. I was just
Hmm.
trying to fix something, that's it, and he jumped to control the situation and
Hmm.
responded without listening.
Yeah, yeah. And how did that make you feel?
I left work and after 2 weeks. Because I wasn't being listened to and
Exactly, exactly, exactly. This is what happens. Yeah, yeah. It's a very deep value. It's a very, very deep value to be listened.
I think for me, is listening to respond or control and
Hmm.
projecting assumption.
Hmm.
Uh, in fact, I shut down after that
Yeah,
incident.
yeah.
As I said, I just didn't know why I should even give my best anymore because
Yes,
you just
yes,
assumed, and not only
yes,
did you assume,
yes.
you went to
Yeah,
also put it on the company page. That is a page we are sharing, and I just didn't want to contribute,
yeah,
do anything. I shut down. I was just, in fact, I contemplated also leaving the job. I contemplated leaving,
yeah,
but I later decided not to do that because I have my own career goals in mind, and this is not going to
yeah,
stop my career goals.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Two of you said, one said, I left it. Second, you said, I contemplated leaving. This is how strong a response it is to not being heard. It is very, very strong. It's like your value. It's unacceptable. Not being heard is unacceptable. As children, you didn't have a voice if you were not heard. But as adults, you have a choice. And so you will exercise that choice, which is what both of you are saying. So, what can we do to embed listening into our daily HR practice or daily life? What can we do? The first one is open ended listening. The moment you have, okay, open ended listening is to even uh, ask people, um, what do you want to share today? Rather than assume this is what you want to share today. Being open about what they want to speak. Open ended listening is about being really open ended, not closing, being open to listening to everything that they want to share and not share, and not have any emotional charge. If they are experiencing something, it is their process. You are nobody to judge or assume and jump to rescue them. It is just what it is. That's open ended listening. The more you practice open ended listening rather than closed listening, the more people will listen to you, the more people will gravitate towards you, the more people will do anything for you, the more people will trust you. That's the first thing. Second is reflective paraphrasing. And this is what I was telling at home is a great practice that you repeat whatever people are saying in your own words. Because to be able to repeat exactly in their words is not possible, but in your own words, it indicates to the opposite person that you have been listening and you're paraphrasing it in your own words while you're keeping the speaker's intention and emotion intact. This gives the listener a very the speaker. This gives the speaker a very big assurance that whatever I say will be listened to. Okay. See, for example, like right now, you're 8 people. I'm not seeing anyone. I actually don't know who's listening. But when one or two of you speak or write, there's a communication. And when Adam paraphrased, I understood that she's listening. So paraphrasing helps the speaker to understand that yeah, I'm being listened to. It's not that I'm speaking to the walls. I'm speaking to a human being, and the human being is listening to me paraphrasing it. That's the advantage of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is active deep listening. It's an active process, it's not a passive process. And the third thing that has worked very well for me, especially in my coaching sessions, is a breath. When somebody says anything, a pause helps a lot because it helps you to collect your response, but not response from what you've already thought of, but response from in this present moment what should come. Like for example, when I'm speaking now, I don't know what you're going to ask me. You could ask me anything related or unrelated to the topic also. So I will take a breath, I will pause, I'll comprehend the question, I will take some time. Yeah. And then I'll respond. That is the power of a conscious pause. And in listening, a conscious pause is a great tool. It's just a single breath before you start responding and speaking. This has helped me a lot in my work. Sorry. So, it's very simple practice, but it has helped a lot, especially the breath before the pause. Any thoughts?
Hello,
Any
Deepa.
thoughts?
So I
Yes.
guess for me, after listening to this session and after listening to the example, I've come to understand that as an HR, I think it's not even HR alone. It is
Yeah.
something that can be applied in every facet of life.
Yes. Yes. I can't hear
And
you at all.
any job you find yourself, and not even in any job, but present.
Yeah. It keeps coming and going. Yeah. In any job.
Sorry, I was saying in your life as a person, if you please can't hear me now. Okay, sorry for the
Yes.
interruption. I was saying that in your life as a person, if you are able to cultivate listening and not just listening, but
Yeah.
I think focused listening and generative
Yeah.
listening, if you are able to
Yeah.
cultivate
Yeah.
those two in your life, you would not only be able to understand people, but people will be able to understand you. And especially in your work, say you even decide to leave HR and you decide to start something on your own, you'll be able to
Yeah.
have a very productive team as well as a
Yeah.
team that understands each other, and you'll be able to
Yeah.
even resolve issues easily without it exploding and making a whole mess. So that is something
Yeah.
I have come to understand from
Yes.
listening, and not just listening, but properly listening. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for that perspective I've been able to
Absolutely.
gain for today's session.
Absolutely. And it's almost a life skill. It's not just a work skill. And if you're able to do focused and generative listening, you have people by your side at every point in time for everything. If you only do the first level of listening, listening to just, react, uh, you will not see anybody backing you, because they would know that if all that you care about is your own thoughts. So yeah, this is the perspective I wanted to bring, and I'm glad you are at home you're able to reflect that. And this is my last slide, which is saying that listening is the doorway through which trust walks in. If you want more trust, listen deeper.
Okay, thank you, Diva. Well, that's actually a very deep session about one skill, which is the listening skill. And
Yeah,
yes, absolutely, it's a very important skill for leaders
yeah,
to learn how to listen to their members
yeah,
more. Maybe they
yeah,
will get more generative ideas and so on.
yeah,
So, and yes, we should reach the generative listening to
yeah,
emerge in
yeah,
a conversation in
yeah,
order to also come up with the best solution
yeah,
based on the best situation.
yeah,
So that's
absolutely,
actually very great. And
absolutely.
I think most of us leaders or HRs, maybe managers, they tend in the pitfall, they tend to do
Yeah,
the jump
yeah,
to fix. So try to instead of like being listening, focused listening
yeah,
or generating,
yes,
they tend
Janet,
to fix
yeah,
the problem immediately. Maybe
yes,
because they don't have time or so on. But we should give time to listen. So that's
yes,
actually a very
yes,
big topic we should teach others to do.
yeah,
So
yeah,
thank you, Deepa,
absolutely.
for this.
Thank you for summarizing it so beautifully, Bilal. Thank you. Thank
Hello,
you
Deepa.
all. Yes, hello.
Okay, sorry. I just it just came in mind that is there any resources, because from my perspective and for me, I think maybe I'm not clear, but I'm paraphrasing. But it seems listening is not just a one day thing, but it's a continuous improvement on oneself
Yeah,
and
yeah,
learning that ability. So, is there any resources that maybe you can point us to that
sure,
we
sure, sure,
can
sure,
use to work
sure,
on ourselves, not just listen to this today's session and that is it,
sure,
but
sure,
resources that
sure,
can
sure,
help us.
sure. So there are two people or uh, two leaders who I have learned listening from. One is Otto Scharmer, and he has levels of listening. So I'm just putting the name. Yeah, this is one person you can listen to online. Lots of videos on YouTube, and the other one is Oscar Trimboli. Yeah, these are the two resources you can. There's a lot available on the internet, and you can listen to them.
Okay, thank you so much for the
Thank you.
resources, Deepa.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Adom, for inviting me to it again.
Thank you as well for being available. Please, does anyone have any questions for Deepa so that she answers it whilst we quickly round up for today's session?
No, I just want to thank you for
Thank you,
Okay, no
this
questions.
presentation. It was very insightful.
thank you, thank you, thank you,
Okay, thank
thank
you
you,
so much,
Adom.
Deepa.
See you.
Thank you once
Bye.
again. Thank you for
Bye.
being available. And Thank you so much. For me, I know I learned so much. Please, if you learn so much, give deeper. In fact, I don't even know the expression to use, but today I've learned so much. Please give her some emojis just to thank her for this session. Please, any emoji that
Thank you.
comes to mind that you use to express thanks to anyone, please put. Okay, sorry, Cynthia has raised her hands. Please, Cynthia, you can go ahead and unmute.
Okay, thank
Please
you.
go ahead and unmute. Okay.
I want to ask, there is a name she mentioned earlier about people we should listen to online. Can I have the name again? I didn't get the names. Thank you.
It's there in on chat. On chat.
All right. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
have written the names. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. Once again, thank you, Deepa, for this wonderful
Thank you.
session.
See
I
you.
know I enjoyed it, and I know everyone else
Lovely.
enjoyed it. Once again, thank you
Lovely.
for being present
Thank
with
you.
us, and thank you for your time. So, at this session, I would
I
like
take
to
leave.
bring the yes. Thank you so much, Deepa, and thank you for being available as usual. So, at this point, I would like to yes, I think this point I would like to let us know the announcements for this week. As usual, we have another LCCOP session on on July 16th, which is at 12 p.m. EST time zone. Please kindly mark your calendars as usual. Here it is. This is our next session with Deepa at 16th July. That is 9 a.m. EST time zone. Then our next session for the TCCOP session is also scheduled on 25th July, June this month. Also mark your calendar. That is 12 p.m. EST time zone. Please kindly mark your calendar for that session. That will also be a great session for us. And finally, also we all know that conflicts show up in teams. And I think I just want to summarize something small from this session. And sometimes, honestly, we don't quietly or easily take it in. In this session, I know we've all learned a lot. And I hope that this session will enable us to be great leaders in our own ways and forms, even in and out of work. So, once again, thank you so much for your time. And finally, if you are looking to deepen your coaching sessions, and your coaching toolkits, check out the APF Certified Professional Training, so professional team coaching session program designed for leaders who want to guide their teams toward real transformation. And finally, don't forget to join our LinkedIn community. Here it is. Yes, our LinkedIn community on LinkedIn. Don't forget to join our LinkedIn community to keep up with conversation and learn from other leaders in this space. Once again, thank you so much for making time for LCCOP session. Please make sure you mark your calendar for the next session and as well mark your calendar for the TCCOP session this 25th June. Once again, thank you so much. And also, please kindly look in the chat box as the feedback poll has been posted there. Please, you can just give us your feedback. It's wonderful to listen to a session and also give us a feedback because it helps all of us. So once again, please just give us your feedback in the feedback poll. And thank you so much for being present. Once again, I'm your host, Adum, and it's been a pleasure hosting you for today. Until the next time, stay present, stay curious, and keep leading with heart. Once again, thank you so much for joining us.